If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.
Hello, friends and bench warmers. We are 2 days removed, recording this 2 days, and I think it'd be like 4 when you guys are listening to this on Thursday. Far into the bench, episode 133. I tried to do the Jim Nantz thing. He's way better at it. That's why he's been broadcasting for a lot longer than I have. But Masters weekend, we had an epic collapse, which some of us might have predicted or been rooting for. Easter Sunday, you had the Masters go on, and Jon Rham wins the Masters Championship, so we have to give Niko, my co-host, a round of applause. Now back-to-back in years picking the Masters champion.
Kind of not a big deal, but kind of a big deal.
It's impressive. It's impressive. It's a nice bounce back after your March Madness tournament.
No, yeah, March Madness was horrendous for me. So getting my money back with the Masters and having a great Easter Sunday, just watching the Masters, my family wanting to go outside because it's finally over 70 degrees here in Denver. So I'm like, we can do it before the round ends as long as we come back for the last 3 holes. So I watched the whole morning and then went to church, played a little pickleball because I may be actually really good at that sport now because there's a lot because I'm actually kind of filthy, and then watched the ending of that Masters final round between Rami and Brooksy. So it was a great Easter Sunday, I'll tell you that.
That's not fair. You played tennis. Tennis players can't transition to pickleball. It's too easy.
Hey, I'm kind of filthy at the pickleball.
Pickleball is for the jokesters like me who could never play tennis a day in their life. That's what pickleball is for. And for like the old people that get mimosas on Saturday morning in my neighborhood. Shout out to anyone of you guys if you listen. It's funny. I walk Boomer past them every Saturday, and I'm like, there is a lot of champagne going on right now. A lot of champagne. These parents are feeling good. Balls are just flying back and forth. I don't know how those guys do it. We had my 2 little second cousins. We have a 2.5-year-old and now like a 6-month-old, and they got to do their Easter egg hunt. And I don't know if you noticed this because I know you got your little nephew too. But when you have the little kids around, Easter had kind of chilled out for the last couple of years. We're all old. We don't do Easter egg hunts anymore, really. And now it's back in full swing. And I was like, gosh. I love everything, but I just want to sit down. I just want to sit inside. It's hot. It's nice out. I get it. I'm going to get sunburnt. My skin has not seen sunlight in the last 6 months. I'm a wrestling coach. I don't go outside. Let's just hold off. But it also seems like summer's right around the corner. I mean, I sweated buckets today. Buckets. And that's coming off of, snow last week. So we're right back into the swing of things. Colorado weather, everything is going the way that we all expect it to go.
That's right? How Colorado is for those non-locals. I'll tell you that. I was wearing a snow jacket to work on Thursday, and I played a round of golf on Saturday. Welcome to Denver.
Yeah. Golf courses are going to be overflowing the next couple of weeks because of the way the weather's looking up. And no, it's great. We are presented by the Variety Sports Network here. I want to make sure that we get that in at Variety_Sports_. They did shout us out the other day on Twitter, so be following us at FEOTB Pod and following the network. And guess what? I actually have updated sponsorship information. So instead of just saying we'll get that, yeah. So you want one of the new ones? You want the new one? One of the new ones first?
Give me one of the new ones. Yeah,
you're gonna like this one. Bet US. Okay, we
got a betting sponsor.
We have a sports book. Yes, Bet US. If you download their app, go to their website, betus.com. We actually have a code for everyone. Let's see. Pulling it up now. Our code is VSN. VSN. So use code VSN when you go to bet on Bet US, and you'll get a nice little starting wager to get your gambling going. So we used to have a former betting sportsbook sponsor. We now have a new sportsbook sponsor through Variety Sports Network, BetUS, betus.com, and use promo code VSN, and you will get some nice free money to start gambling with. So that is what we are presented by first off, and that is fitting. I know you didn't win it on BetUS, but you did win your bet, like we mentioned.
I did, Jimmy. Jimmy, as our sponsors who are listening. Yeah. If they are listening, I did win all that money on BetUS.
All of it.
So
We were that good that we knew that that's what was going on before we even knew what was going on.
I'm telepathic. I used that free money that we got through the VSN and threw it on Rambino over there to win the Masters, and at a plus 780 before it ran. And boy, oh boy, do we get another big payday. You love to see it, right? Running into the playoffs too. That's the momentum you need this time of the year, Jimmy. I got hockey playoffs. I got NBA playoffs to bet on. I may even sprinkle a little bit NFL draft betting odds a little bit here and there, just see what it is. And I'm only going to use on BetUS.
BetUS is the official sportsbook sponsor of this podcast now and of the Variety Sports Network. Also, if you are listening on the day this comes out, I will actually be going over onto got to give a proper shout out, but I am going on another VSN show, Birds at Bush. I went on their show Wednesday night. As you're listening to this, go back to the Variety Sports Network YouTube channel and check out my appearance there. I'm talking Rockies, and guess what? I get to talk about the Rockies beating the stupid Cardinals, bitch. Yeah.
Nolan 0 for 4. Is it October already for Nolan?
Oh boy, we are just throwing shots across the bow. Don't steal my Hall of Fame third baseman, and then we won't have a problem. That's what I got for all you St. Louis fans. No. We really appreciate being a part of the network, and we wanted to make sure that we get out that information. We'll have a couple more sponsors throughout the rest of the show.
I'm sure I'll be on some NBA playoff shows with Fat Boy too coming up. Obviously, we're a little early in scheduling all these because the plans are still going on. So we'll figure all that and release all that too.
It's going to be – you're going to want to be subscribed to our YouTube channel, subscribe to the Variety Sports Network YouTube channel. I'm sure I'll be doing live playoff reactions. You'll probably be up. You'll jump on for the Avalanche. But no, we got a lot of – this is where it's going to start picking up right before we get into summer break. And then we can have a little bit of a breather.
We sleep in June, Jimmy.
Sleeping, yes. That's something that I'm vaguely familiar with at this point, and I like to do more of it, but I don't have the time in my day. Here's a philosophical question for you, Niko. If a tree falls on the Masters, do you move out of the way? What if two trees fall? Do you move out of the way?
First of all, I'd let a branch hit me. I would not let the whole tree fall on me. But my God, you could become a member. I would have took a fall. I'll be honest with you. I probably would have took a fall if I was there on. I think it was on Friday or maybe it was Saturday when
it was. I know it might have been Saturday. Yeah.
Either way, I would have took a foul so hard and been like, "Fuck! I'm emotional damage. You have to let me play here every year now for the rest of my life. Once every year for the rest of my life." I mean, look, I theoretically. No, I don't want to get injured. But hypothetically, yes. Get me to play Augusta just once in my life, and I'll be happy. Yeah. Like literally, if that fell on me, I wouldn't ask for much. I'd maybe say, "Can I get a membership?" They tell me no. Okay, can I play Augusta just once? Then they'll be like, "Probably yes," and I'm like, "All right, that's good enough for me." And I would have took it.
Have you seen Friday?
I've not
with Ice Cube and Chris Tucker. The guy goes into the store and falls like, "Oh, your floor was wet. I slipped and fell. It's gonna owe you $6 million. That's what it's gonna cost you."
I'm not gonna sue. I'm not gonna sue Augusta. Just give me a tea time. Just give me a tea
because
time.
I feel like with the
give
way
me a tea
everything
time
works,
and maybe a replica green jacket. We're good.
Well, they don't have to. They have replica green jackets. They sell plenty of those. I definitely want to talk about what I heard about the pro shop. This is the first time that I'm hearing about that. $1 million an hour, $10 million a day.
I'd fucking.
And it all gets shipped back to where you live. Like you don't have to take it. Is this the perfect setup? Here's my question. How many bodies does the group that controls Augusta National? Because these big governing bodies have a lot of secrets. How many bodies have they buried? Because it's pristine. They don't have a broadcasting deal. They have like a handshake agreement with CBS. That's why they don't have to have commercials. They don't have a broadcasting deal.
That's why it's streamed on ESPN too.
It's
on half on ESPN and half on CBS. Like
they want the dual platforms, but that way, like Augusta National controls everything. No broadcasting deal, so they don't have to say if they say anything they don't want to. Augusta's just like, oh, I guess the Masters aren't on TV this year, and that's what it is.
And then they just do it on their own app where everyone can download it and just do it on their own way where they can sell it for free because that's what anyone can do. Literally anyone. If you downloaded the Masters app, you didn't have to sign in. You didn't have to do anything. All you had to do was click on it, and then like, oh shit, there's live golf right there. Now I can watch this shot back. I can watch that shot back. They don't like they. It is the most prestigious tournament in the world for that reason. No phones. Your gear gets shipped to you that you buy. I mean, like it
costs $4 for a hot dog. Not $4. That was like $2 for a hot dog. That's $4 for their chicken salad sandwich.
Oh man, imagine those prices at stadiums these days. Oh, it's up to $15 for a hot dog at Coors Field nowadays. Like it's that bad. $2? Are you kidding me? Oh God, there's beautiful. No one does it like Augusta. I'm hoping one day that I can be there, but damn.
The only thing I would like, they should have one hole like they have at the Waste Management. I know it's totally different tournaments. Like, can't compare Augusta. All the golf heads that are listening to me can't compare Augusta to the Waste Management. There should be one hole where you're allowed to just be fucking raunchy. And the guys, when they make the putt, I know, it's too stuffy.
It's too country club.
It's too stuffy. They barely even let women compete, or do they even let women compete at Augusta anymore?
I think there's a women's tournament there too.
But that's very recent, like within the last 5 years. That's how good old Boise this whole thing is, and it's prestigious. And Jon Rham, that was what had eluded him for a while. He is, for a golfer, he's in some of the best shape that I've seen on tour. And not even like, he doesn't look like he's all jacked up, gonna beat you up.
How do you want to call best shape? Because he's not what you doesn't look like Jordan
he hit the ball just as far on Sunday as he did on Thursday. That's the only reason. That's how you measure a golfer's stamina or how in shape they are. How seriously did you take this tournament? And we knew going in that Brooks was going to be at a disadvantage. He hasn't played 72 holes in a year.
I don't know. His put a booty on Netflix girl maybe giving him 72 holes all season long. But pause on that. But yeah, 54 holes is not something live guys are used to. It's funny that 2 of the top 5 are obviously live guys, which is something we'll talk about here in a little bit with Phil too. But like I said, look, Brooksy came out and said if he was playing like this before signing with live, there's a good chance he probably would have left. Because look, Brooksy was not healthy, and he didn't know how well his health was gonna elongate for X amount of years. He saw a bag and he went and got it, plain and simple. He now will have to pay $400 million to get out of that contract if he ever decides to come back to the PGA. But like I said, look, it was a good showing from Brooks. Look, he absolutely choked. He struggled at the end, but I wouldn't just put it on the choke job. I would put it on Rham just never quitting, right? Like Rham smelled blood in the water. Like I believe it was hole 9 when it was a 2-point swing with Brooksy bogeying and Rham getting the birdie. He smelt it right away, and once he attacked. That's one thing that John or Rambino, as I was calling him, it's Rambo, Rambino, whatever you want to call it. Ram was doing at those last back 9 was he just came out just ready to roll and said, "I'm fucking going out to win this. I'm not coming here to lose." And Brooksy was playing to lose at those last 9 holes, or last 18, sorry, because the last 9 actually wasn't too bad for Brooks. But Ram came out to win the Masters, win that green jacket, and it showed why he won it.
Psychologically, it makes a difference. Being the guy that's in the lead, trying not to blow it, and being the guy that's exactly what you have to get to. Like Brooks, in his mind, when he got that bogey, he was saying in his head, "All I want to do is get this par. Just get this par. Make it 3 strokes instead of 4. Make it 3 strokes instead of 4." And then you fuck up, and now instead of a par, you get a bogey. And it's that mental thing ticking back. I learned this over the weekend. That I'm not sure. I don't know if you know. Jon Rahm's mental coach is a former bomb technician in like the military or some kind of law enforcement, which it seems like it's a little bit ridiculous, but he's just because his mental coach was a guy that used to have to be that calm and collected. Otherwise, it meant he's losing digits or a hand or an arm disarming some bomb. Like it's That's one of the major shifts that we've seen in all across sports. Like the mental coaches and sports psychologists have really taken it to another level.
Not just across sports, but Rham especially. Like Rham was a guy that is not the most calm person. He's not Scotty by all means. He's eccentric, right? He likes to get excited. He gets hyped up when he gets a good shot. Like he doesn't sit there and just sit there. But he knows when he needs to lock in, he locks in, right? Like he knows when it's time to flip that switch, he flips the switch. And the Rham's had the sight set on that green jacket, and man, what a hell of a performance, right? What a hell of a performance. He knew after. Look, we can talk about the funny story with Zach Ertz here in a little bit too. But he like after 4-putting the first hole and then coming back all that way and getting yourself in a position where your last group on Sunday, and you are seeing you see the sights, and you see a guy that has not played 72 holes in what, 2 months, month and a half, 2 months since the Players. So it's been a long time since he's done that. You've done that multiple every other weekend. So he was ready to rumble, and Rham just put on a show.
Yeah, and I gave a little jab towards everything, but I mean the venue, it works so much better at this time. I know we had the Weird Masters that was in the fall while we were doing the show, but it's a better tournament. It's a better product, even though they had to cancel on Saturday and push extra holes till Sunday. It was still like, with all the weather, with all the rain, wouldn't have really been able to tell. The greens were unforgiving like they normally are. They roll and roll forever, which is why Bryson DeChambeau can't play at this golf course. And yeah, I think overall, like, I don't know if it's the most exciting Masters finish that we've seen. There was no playoff. I think that's what everybody was hoping for, but it was a successful tournament, and you got a few cool different stories out of it. The trees falling, the weather being canceled, the live guys, like you said, I guess we could talk about that now. The live guys actually did make a decent showing. Yeah. Who's the one guy that plays like slower than molasses that everybody was pissed at? Is he a live guy?
I don't think he's a live guy. I think he's actually a PGA guy. But no, it was that was horrendous. I mean, Victor Hovland, who was his partner in front of Brooks and John. When you see a guy hitting his approach, not his approach shot, what the fuck is it called? His chip shot, while you are still crossing the bridge at 13, like that on Ambend corner, like, come on, man. I mean, it was terrible. It was terrible, and Victor Hovland tried to send a message, but when a guy's doing that, like, look, I'm not going to say maybe he had money under the table on John to win, and maybe that was helpful for John. But the question comes up, right? Like, why the hell were you taking this long? He was 5 shots back in the lead. Like, it would have took a Herculean effort, and maybe he thought he could. That's why he was taking so long. Maybe he was just trying to soak it in. But I mean, it did not help at all.
No, it didn't, and it's just another, like, Brooks is not the requisite golfer. He doesn't really enjoy all of that, and making him stay out there longer than he needs to, not being able to let him play at his own pace, that definitely got into his head. And Brooks is a guy that if you get into his head, he is very beatable, very talented, good golfer. I'm not taking any of that away from him. It's the head game that gets him. That's where he's not as pause. Total pause. Did not mean to say that phrasing, but you know what I'm talking about. Phil Mickelson, the live guys. Let's talk about them, and then we can wrap up the Masters. But go ahead.
Yeah, look, Phil. I mean, my God, Phil missed the cut for the last like three live tournaments. Like he's barely shooting under 90. Like that's how bad he's been recently. I don't know what brought this on. Maybe it was the fact that Jon Rham, who's an ASU guy, Arizona State guy, and Mickelson, I believe, his brother was the coach at ASU. Like they have that relationship. Maybe seeing Rham do that well got him fired up, and maybe it was his time to show. But my God, if you would have told me that the highest the person who the former champion to finish the highest on the leaderboard, if you told me it would be Phil Mickelson, I'd be like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, that is a stupid ass bet. I would have told you probably Scotty, maybe Jordan. Maybe a couple of those other guys, but not Phil. By all means, not Phil. And look, look, Phil's always been compared to one guy, and it's Tiger. Tiger obviously had a tough performance. He makes a cut, 25th straight cut, or maybe it's 24th straight cut at the Masters, all-time record. Incredible. I'm glad he was able to keep that. But the man could not stand up on his 2 feet when it got cold. So it was much needed that he had to was not able to complete it. But him and Tiger, like I said, those are the two faces of golf for the last 20 years, right? When you think about golf, it's those two. It's lefty, it's Tiger. Plain and simple. Like then everyone else you fill in between. And what Phil showed is like golf you can play until you're fucking 80. It's plain and simple. There's a reason why those country club sports like pickleball, tennis, golf can be played forever. But to play at this level, it's impressive. It's funny because obviously he had his live team logo on his sweatshirt and his hat. So it was a little funny that happened. But look, kudos to Lefty. Absolutely kudos to Lefty.
It's impressive, and you can say all you want. He's not the best public speaker and handled a live transition about as poor as anybody could. He's going to continue to play in this tournament as long as he's able to play well in the tournament. And I think a couple years ago too, I don't know if it was the year that Tiger won it last, but I think a few years ago we were talking about Phil, like, where the fuck did he come from? This guy has been absolute dog shit for the rest of the tour. Yeah, he comes out in Augusta and all of a sudden it's lights out. He's like, yeah, give me your Saudi Arabian money.
He won the, what was it, U.S. Open, or maybe it was the Players. Yeah. One of the two championships in 2021. And it was like a year after Tiger, or maybe 2 years after Tiger won the Master. We were like, holy fuck, how are these old guys doing this?
Yeah. You're like, when are we going to transition to the next generation? This makes no sense.
So look, kudos to Phil. It's funny, obviously, with the live stuff, but look, there's no doubt how well he played on Sunday.
He did play very well,
and maybe it was also because he played with Spieth. Spieth obviously is a homie with the Ryder Cup, so the two good friends that played on a lot of Ryder Cup pairings way back when. So maybe that helped him on Sunday. But I mean, Phil, good for Lefty.
It was a very good showing for him. It was a very good tournament overall, like I was saying. But anything else that you want to touch on before we move and start talking about that
was the main pieces. Obviously, look, before we move on, we got to talk about this amateur, Sam Bennett. I mean, great, one of the best finishes by an amateur in the last, I think it's 80 some odd years. Like it's been a long time. Augusta obviously has the amateur, the amateur side of it that makes it so awesome, so cool. And look, he was the last three groups on Sunday. That's the last time an amateur has done that. I believe was like 2007, 2008. It's been a long time. So it was a great performance. The guy said, I'm not going to play, because when you finish top 5 or top 10 or whatever he was, you get invited to the PGA. You get invited to all these other tournaments. I said, nah, I'm going to go carry my bag at the University of Texas Invitational next weekend. I'm not going to go to the RBC. So he's currently this weekend carrying his own bag after finishing top 5 at the Masters, carrying his own bag back in college at one of the university's tournaments. So look, good for Sam Bennett. The dude looks like Dabo Sweeney with the goatee, which is very funny. But look, it was a hell of a performance. So one of the best stories out of the weekend.
There's a philosophical question to wrap up this segment. If you're an amateur and you are on the cusp of winning the Masters, do you forfeit your amateur status as you make the walk to 18?
I don't. I mean,
because if you don't, you can't collect the prize money.
No, yeah, you can with the NIL. You do whatever the fuck you want now. They can win as much money as they fucking want.
I feel like that was, maybe they were just making the debate to make the debate. I heard like a lot of people discussing the Masters be like, yeah, well, what would you do? Because he either has to give up his status or accept the prize money. Maybe it's a dumb question.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they probably just slid him some stuff under the table for doing that good. And the sponsors and everything. I think he'll be fine. But that never happens. No. Never happens in sports.
Never. Oh my goodness. I can't believe you advocated for this on that show. How are we going to continue to have this great BetUS sportsbook sponsor if we keep being unethical with our practices? Yeah, I'm sure it happened. Let's start talking about the NHL playoffs because
Do you want to cover the UFC slightly?
oh yes,
with
UFC, the main
because
event
Izzy,
really. Yeah.
the Izzy knockout was one for the ages. I mean,
Oh, he was getting his ass whooped up until that point.
he was getting
Just
his
like
ass
how we were
whooped.
talking about with Pereira last fight.
He's a
Is
scary
these two guys
motherfucker.
they're very evenly not evenly matched skill wise, but when they fight each other, it's one guy is kicking the shit out of the other until one small opening. You give one tiny minuscule little thing, a right hand comes straight down the pipe, all of a sudden you're slumped. You're slept in front of however many millions of people that watch that. Joe Rogan screaming his ass off at cage side. And then did you see the post-fight interview where he was explaining his little celebration with between him and Pereira's son after their first fight?
Yeah, I mean, look, it is kind of funny. Look, I'm all for talking shit, like we said last week with Angel Reese and Jalen Clark. So I don't hate it. But I mean, you wanna act dead after knocking out, dude? You look, the kid is what, 5 years, 6 years older, 7 years older than when he was. Like, calm the fuck down, kid. Like you were a kid then. We don't need to be crying about that. I mean, look, is it a little distasteful? Sure. Whatever, but you want to talk shit, you better be able to get it back, and you're gonna learn at a young age about that, pal. I had no problem with it. I think that watching those two men walk to the cage, I've never seen that zone before. Those two guys' faces, like Izzy usually has these crazy entrances, all these different things. He comes out to the fucking headstrong. He walks out the headstrong, where all he's just is singing and is determined. The dude doesn't take his eyes off of Pereira from the second that he steps to the octagon. I cannot believe the magnitude of that fight and the intenseness of that fight, because it had all the makings of it. And look, Izzy had a good or not Izzy. I think it was DC that said this. Pereira could kick ass at light heavyweight. That was a big motherfucker. Massive motherfucker.
That's where he's probably going next, honestly. I don't think that he's going to mess around anymore in middleweight.
I mean, that's got to be a tough cut. You could go there and be the new light heavyweight guy for a while, because, like I said, Prochazka has been injured. That light heavyweight division is up for grabs, right? There's a current champion, but I can't think of the name off the tip of my tongue. But you can go up and you can get yourself a position where you're the guy light heavyweight. Like, this is Izzy's division, plain and simple. Izzy has beaten every opponent in the top 6 by a finish, I think it was, or something along those lines. Like he has beaten every single person, like who's who, and he's just going to collect checks and knock out whoever the next guy is. They'll probably have a quote unquote trilogy just for the hell of it, but honestly, I think Izzy could probably do it again, because of Pereira now is swimming in head, and now Izzy's swimming in Pereira's head that he can do that to you, because that had never been done before. Before, it was Pereira swimming in Izzy's head, because he could never beat him. That's the boogeyman. That's the guy that you've never been able to beat. Now it's flipped, right? Like, oh, fuck, he's got my number. He can knock me out. I didn't think he had this power. I think he had to – I thought he had to go to 5 rounds with me to beat me. And he can now – the power he has, and can see that he will be able to knock you out.
You can see that it's a different level. And those two, I mean, I think that Pereira was planning on going up. I have the division rankings pulled up. So in middleweight, now Izzy's going to be 1. But then after him, you kind of have all of the usual suspects. I'd assume that Marvin Vettori, he has to probably win another fight before, but he'd get beat next in line, because we've already seen Izzy and Robert Whittaker. And I don't know if they're interested in
him and Kelvin.
Well, Kelvin is not even close to title contention anymore. Kelvin's a gatekeeper on the prelim show now. That's how far he's fallen off. But that fight with Izzy was just an absolute middleweight classic.
That's the money fight. That's the only money fight for him, plain and simple, right? It's the only money fight. And to be honest with ourselves, unless he wants to try to go back up to light heavyweight. Look, in my opinion, I saw this scenario and I think it's magnificent. Pereira, go up to light heavyweight, get the title. Izzy kicks some ass for a couple more or a year or so. Then you have possibly the biggest champion versus champion fight in UFC history, with the trilogy between Pereira and Izzy go head to head for a double champ. I mean, or Izzy double champ or whatever it may be. Like it'd be crazy. It'd be crazy that type of fight for the trilogy. But like I said, I don't know. That's the money fight. Like there's no other fight in this top 6. Like what was Hamzat top 10 now? I think that's his division, right? Or is he a division below? Maybe I'm losing my mind.
I believe he is middleweight. He's not top 10 yet, but that is the analysis I've heard is that whoever has the middleweight title for the next however long is just keeping it warm for Hamzat, because once they can, they're going to push him that far. Against Izzy and Pereira. No, if Hamzat fights Izzy or Pereira, he's going to absolutely rip their heads off, rip their arms off, and beat them to death with them. You're not going to not have that guy take you down, especially because Izzy and Pereira don't fucking train wrestling. They're idiots that way. They think that they're kickboxing against keep them out of trouble. No. And if you get wrestled, you get beat. Look what Jan did to Izzy. I don't know. That's probably my bias a little bit, but stand-up pales in comparison to being able to dictate where the fight goes.
I don't know. The last couple of fights I've seen from Hamza, I'm not impressed at all. The dude tried to stand up. And the dude tries to stand up. He can't fucking hold sniff a jock up to Izzy and Pereira, right? He can't hold a jock to them. So they're a stand-up game. Obviously, he's a much better guy on the ground, much better. But like I said, if he wants to start getting pretty, like he has been his last couple fights and winning by decisions and not just going out and dominating, then he'll probably get his ass whooped because he'll try to be the knockout guy, try to be the big name guy. Look, Hamza needs to take a page out of Makhachev and Khabib's playbook. You just need to fucking do what you're good at and whoop some shit with it. Because if you do that, you're good. If you try to stand up with Neil Magny, you'll win a split decision by a third round that you probably shouldn't have won. Like that's where Hamza's at in his career. If he wants to shit like that, Izzy will knock his ass out so quick. So quick. You want to wrestle, then you'll have a chance. But if Hamza wants to be determined and not want to be a pretty boy, then he can have a chance at this title.
Yeah, for middleweight, I'm not necessarily super interested. I'm more interested to see what happens with Jon Jones moving forward. I want to see what happens in welterweight now that Leon Edwards has cemented his status. But I'm sure Rev was all excited. Our guest that we've had on quite a few times, our quote MMA expert Rev Koka, is his fellow countryman, the Nigerian brother, was able to get himself back on track. He
was the only one to be able to get himself back on track, right? Francis gone.
Yeah,
he's apparently expecting way too much money right now, and no one's signing him. Not One, not Pride, not Boxing. People are like, no, you're not fucking worth this much amount of money. Are you kidding me? No.
Biggest freak show that we've seen in 15 years, and nobody's got him signed.
And he's learned the hard way that you gotta be able to promote yourself. And right now, Francis's last fight was the most boringest fucking heavyweight fight in history. I mean, not the boringest. Obviously, Frank Mir and Brock Lesnar have a right to say about talking about that. But he wrestled, and no one was like, why the fuck are you wrestling? You won the fight, cool. But there's a reason why Jon Jones knocking a dude or putting Cyril Gane in a head crank is exciting because it's Jon fucking Jones. He'll sell the tickets. And Ngannou straight up is not selling the tickets currently. And there's a reason why he's not signed. And then obviously Usman losing his belt and then getting the rematch and losing again. Right? Like it's good for Izzy at least to get back on the top of that throne because it was not looking good.
Yeah, we went from 3 African-born UFC champions now just back down to we
were down to 0 and then
back down to 1. Yeah, we were at 0 for a little bit. We'll keep an eye on some of the UFC events. Obviously, over the summer, that's probably going to be a majority of what we talk about because that's when their business starts to pick up. But I think we're ready to talk playoff hockey. I'm ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm very prepared. I'm going to have to go get some caffeine pills, put in my water bottles at school because I'm staying up and I'm watching all of these games, whether the Avs are on or not. I love playoff hockey. I especially love Avalanche playoff hockey. Let's get into it. I think we should start with some of the milestones. One, Connor McDavid. He just did something. Yeah, 150 points. That there's only been like 10 others. First guy since Mario Lemieux to do this back in the 1990s. And if you look up this record in the NHL record books, the first 8 are all Wayne Gretzky. It's Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and now Connor McDavid.
No, young
And-
listeners, that's not the last name of the Super Mario Brothers on the new movie that came out. That's Mario Lemieux, the legend great, the Pittsburgh legend great before Sid. It was Mario.
The first guy who saved the Pittsburgh Penguins franchise, and then saved it again when he became part owner, and then came back to play with Sid, and now has won 4 Stanley Cups for that city. Yeah, that was the last guy to ever do it. And Connor McDavid, for as much as he's paid attention to, as much as we talk about him for probably wanting to be out of Edmonton, I'm interested because this has not been a very big news. No big celebration outside of like NHL circles. The only thing that we're really talking about is, oh yeah, that's cool. McDavid scored 150. We expect that. Really? You expect that? Nobody scores 150 unless you're sitting on your mom's couch in your basement. Shout out to all my fellow basement dwellers, but that doesn't happen ever.
No, it does not happen. And the same, I believe it happened the night after, or yeah, because it happened on Tuesday instead of McDavid did it on Sunday. Boston fucking setting the points record, right?
Boston, 133 points.
Like, you want to talk about, look, I think one of the greatest regular seasons of all time, sports seasons of all time, was the 2016 NBA season, right? You had the Warriors break the 73-9 record, right? You had LeBron coming back from 3-1 in the finals. You had Kobe's last game where he put up 60, right? Like, in terms of level of holy shit, what the fuck happened that year? Like, we're approaching that, ladies and gentlemen, very much so this year with the NHL, because the amount of points that are just being obliterated, whatever, obliterated. Wow, I obviously didn't know how to talk today. Obliterated is just crazy, right? The Avs even have their first fucking 200-point score since 2001. Like we are seeing an unprecedented level of hockey nowadays that is so great for the sport, so great for the growth of it. That, like I said, Boston broke the all-time record for points, and we're still sitting here like, they still could lose in the second round. Like, I would not be surprised at that. That's how good the NHL is right now, and how good this league is.
Even if they do, I mean, yeah, they have the tried and true regular season record, because it was 132 points was the previous one set by the Canadiens in 76-77. So
which I'm pretty sure was like fucking 12 teams. So
but they still had a ton of games. The Canadiens that season finished with a record of 68-12. The Bruins this year are 64-12-5. I think that you're playing against better competition, the speed of the game, it's a much more skilled game. And 2, that is a lot of more games that they play, and a lot more different players, different variations that you see. I still can't every time you want to go and praise them, they have somebody do some stupid shit. This time it's another Marchand headshot. And I really hope, if we do get to play Boston in the playoffs, which I'm knocking on wood because I don't want to jinx nothing. It is a long ways away, but if we somehow do, I just want to see everyone take a run at that fucking guy. Everyone. I know that he doesn't have the balls to stand up and fight anybody, but I just want
one of them. I'll tell you that there'll be some people in the playoffs. You think fucking Tampa's going to sit down? No. You think Toronto, if they get there, sit down? Probably. But like a lot of these other teams, I mean, they got dudes. They got Trubas. They got the fucking. You name them, the Brett Burns of the world. They'll run at this guy. They're not gonna get punked. You can punk around fucking Detroit all you want. No one gives a fuck about hockey in Detroit since in the last 20 years. So, not 20 years, 15 years, whatever it was.
If Trouba's the one that takes him out, it would be like hiring Voldemort to kill Darth Vader. Because I hate both of those guys so much, and I really don't know which one's worse. I honestly, with his history against us, I'd probably honestly want to see Trouba get hit first before Marchand. But you are very right, and we said that last week too. The East, the defense lines that you see in the East this year are just going to be absolute Mack trucks. It's going to be a meat grinder to get out of your neutral zone. Yeah, goaltending. Because, by the way, if the Islanders, so let's go ahead and let's talk about it. The Islanders hold a 1-point lead over Pittsburgh. They have 1 game left. They've both played 81 games. But if New York gets in, Ilya Sorokin is the kind of goaltender that can scare teams, that I think can put his team, if they're able to get that 1 or 2 goal lead, because they don't score a lot of points on offense, do the New York Islanders. But Ilya Sorokin, I think this year has passed maybe Vasilevsky in the best Russian-born goaltender. We know that Vasilevsky kind of holds off. This season, this one single season, he's passed up Vasilevsky and he's passed up Shesterkin. Ilya Sorokin is that guy out of the Russian hockey system at goaltender that is the best option right now. He's going to give you the chance to win the most games. Now, his team around him isn't near as good as the other teams that are in front of those other guys. So we're going to have to see what's going to happen in the playoffs. But right now, they make the Islanders dangerous.
It's what we talked about with Nashville, right? Saros had a hell of a year last year. Obviously, they didn't win a game in the playoffs. Obviously, they ran into a buzzsaw. Into a buzzsaw on us. So that's a little bit different. But they run into Boston first round. It's probably going to be a long day. but like they can put like I said, Sorokin will win you 1 or 2 games in the playoffs. Your offense is going to have to produce. Plain and simple. If it doesn't produce, we're going to see hockey games in the West that are like 5-3, like 4-2. We may see 1-0, 2-1 games in the East, like for a majority of the playoffs. Like it's going to be that close and that physical.
Yeah, and just looking over, and so the Atlantic held true. Boston, Toronto, Tampa. So Toronto and Tampa play in the first round. Boston will play either Pittsburgh or New York. We don't quite know yet. Then you have in the Metro, Carolina, New Jersey, and the Rangers. And Florida has put themselves, they've clinched a playoff spot under Matthew Tkachuk and just playing flat out harder than they've played all year. Pause on that. But the effort is now there. And Matthew Tkachuk has willed his team to a playoff spot with 92 points on the season. They would play Carolina as it stands currently because I believe they have a 1-point lead over New Jersey in the Metro. So whoever wins the Metro gets Florida. Whoever wins the Atlantic gets either New York or Pittsburgh. But those 2-3 matchups, just like we talked about with the Western Conference last week, those 2-3 matchups are going to be where the boys are separated. You're not going to be able to have a faint heart watching those. People are going to get hit. You're going to see extracurriculars. There's going to be a scrum after every whistle, after every stoppage of play, because not only do all those teams have talent, all those teams play a certain style. They just want to muck it up in front of the goaltender. They don't want anybody to get a free pass. You're going to get hit. I don't know if you watched the Battle of the Badge documentary yet. We should talk about that too with the FDNY NYPD game coming up this Saturday. But it's going to be very similar to like one of the guys in that documentary said in the first 20 minutes, everybody's just looking to hit somebody. They don't even give a shit that the puck is out on the ice. First 20 minutes, you're just trying to establish who is the most dominant physical team. Once you get that established, then the rest of the game will play out from there. But I think those 2-3 matchups are going to be must-see TV. I don't know if the NHL needs me to give that big of an endorsement. I don't know if people are going to listen to it, but I am very interested in those matchups, especially in New Jersey, New York, and I want to see Toronto. I think it's the time. It's the time. It can't happen again.
Last year, Jimmy. I said it last year.
You said it last year. I didn't say it last year, so maybe if I say it again, we just got to keep throwing it out there. Whoever, one of us is going to win this at some point, I feel like, or they're just not going to be.
I think
we have to. You can't lose all of them, right? Be like in the casino. Oh, I know I just lost $50 in this slot machine, but it's going to hit next time, right? Eventually,
I'll get this right. Like it's going to hit. Come on now.
No, I mean that's my thoughts on the Eastern Conference. It's not so much better like we were talking about over the West. The Western Conference is going to have almost all their playoff teams except for Winnipeg now, Winnipeg or Nashville with over 100 points also. So the West is shaped up to be a fairly tough division, and you're getting performances out of teams you don't normally expect. But the East, I think it's everything that we expected. Boston is way better than I think anybody ever anticipated them being, especially because they started the season off so injured. But it's all who can come down and win those first 16 games once this week is over. We had to learn how to go through it last year, and I think teams are going to have to start hunkering down. And I guess that's a good way to go over and start talking about the Western Conference. And we're going to start with the Avalanche. I told you before we started recording, I know that you probably know This is the first time that the Avalanche have had 200-point scorers on their team since 2003. Those other 200-point scorers in their franchise history, a guy named Joe Sakic and a guy named Peter Forsberg. Both happen to be in Toronto in the Hockey Hall of Fame. So things have finished on a much more positive note than I think we were maybe anticipating. Lehkonen not being out there.
Much more positive.
Lehkonen, Makar, and Manson not being out there. Those are very difficult pills to swallow at the moment. But everything else, hopefully getting Landeskog back.
Everything else seems like it's falling into place, right? Like it's another situation where no one wants to play us. Right? No one wants to play his team. Plain and simple, no one wants to play his team. Seattle doesn't. Fucking Edmonton doesn't. I mean, like it's avoid Colorado at all costs because the boys will be coming back soon. And like I said, what we've been seeing out of Mulligan, we'll be seeing out of Nieto, O'Connor, JT Compher, and company is like what we worried about this year as opposed to last year was like the depth, right? Like how are those third, fourth line guys going to produce? And they've, like I said, they had that rocky start to the year where you had to take off the backs of Mac and Niko. But now that you're back in the swing of things, they know their roles. And those third, fourth line guys know their roles and know that, hey, we have a chance to do something big here. And all you have to do is play your 16 minutes of the ice time, get some bodies, get some pucks on net, and cause some trouble. And that's exactly what they're doing. And fucking Jack Johnson having 3 goals this year. What the fuck? Like yeah, Jack Johnson needs to be a better defender in general, but the fact that Jack Johnson didn't score all year, then all of a sudden he comes here and scores 3 goals, it's the Bednar effect. It absolutely is the Bednar effect, and I think it's going to help this team. And like I said, that depth is just going to be even more beneficial when we get all the boys back.
I think we need to remember last year, too, we ended the regular season playing nobody that started in the first playoff game against Nashville. Those guys that were starters against whoever we played in the last regular season game did not make the cut to dress in the playoffs. So things are going to change. It's going to be good. I want to say, too, I think that last year was the team getting their monkey off their back. This year was for the individual players to get their monkey off their back. Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen getting to that 100-point milestone, and Mikko Rantanen specifically getting to 50 goals and now blowing past 50 goals on the season. Those are 2 things that people have been like, well, he's basically an elite player. He almost scores 100 points. He nearly gets 50 goals. There's no nearly, basically, almost anymore. You are that guy. You have proven it, and I think you saw it open up in that San Jose game after Mikko got 50, then he got 51, then he got 52. The floodgates just opened. Like you start this streak and you hit it, you got to ride that wave. And I think that they're gonna jump on. They're jumping on the wave at the right time. In the Central, they currently hold the first place spot at 104 points. They're tied as we're recording this on Tuesday, so you guys will already know whether or not they won. But it's tied midway through the second period, 1-1 against Edmonton, which is a very important game. We'll talk about that once I get through the rest of the playoff teams. But Dallas, Minnesota are the 3 teams in the Central. Winner of that division will play Seattle because Seattle is locked into the number 1 wild card spot. Then in the Pacific, Vegas, Edmonton, LA. Vegas has a 2-point lead over Edmonton, so they want to win this game to keep pace. They also want to win this game for that extra advantage on the Avalanche, and whoever wins the Pacific will get either Winnipeg or Calgary. It's looking more and more likely that it's going to be Winnipeg because Calgary, they hate their.
So Calgary just got eliminated yesterday. Poor Nas.
Oh no, it's not Calgary. It's Nashville. Nashville somehow still has the chance. They're not mathematically eliminated yet, but it's not. It's going to be Winnipeg. It's going to be Winnipeg, and Winnipeg is going to get swept by Las Vegas or Edmonton, whoever they play in the first round, because Winnipeg is not whatever team we thought they were in January. In January, they were the number 1 team in the Western Conference. Now they're limping into the playoffs, but
now Hellebuck can't carry that much weight anymore. He was.
It's a lot of weight, and he's been carrying them for so long. They've never had anyone. Like Laine is supposed to be their star, and Patrick Laine is not. He's a good player, but he's not like a star.
Well, Laine has been gone for 2 years now, but he was supposed to be their guy. He's in Columbus, bud. He's been.
No, I thought it was the other guy. Didn't they trade the other guy?
No, they have Luc Dubois. Pierre-Luc Dubois
that's the name that I was thinking of. Luke
That's the
Dubois.
guy.
Because I was just playing.
That's the guy. But yeah, they don't have any offensive firepower, none whatsoever. So, like I said, it's going to be a long run unless Hellbuck might steal a game. That's probably about it.
No, and the reason why this Edmonton game that's going on as we're recording this is so important. Whoever wins, so the Avalanche will have the 1 seed in the Central. If it comes down to Edmonton and Colorado playing in the playoffs, whoever wins this game basically secures their home ice advantage for that series, because at that point, Vegas would be eliminated and Edmonton would be the highest remaining seed on that side of the bracket. It's weird how they do it. I'm going to try and keep everyone as up to date as possible. I finally get it in my head, but I don't have the capability to explain it yet. So just know winning tonight is imperative because, one, it puts you even further ahead on points because you still have the game in hand on Dallas, so you don't have to worry about tiebreakers or anything like that. And two, it can be beneficial further on in the playoffs. So out of those teams in the Pacific, or out of the teams that we could possibly play in the first round, how do you feel about having to play Seattle? Because there's
I would love
question.
Seattle. I would prefer Seattle, if I'm being honest with you. On all likeliness, like I would much rather prefer them. It's not even a question out of all those teams. Good for Seattle getting this far. That team is very young and very inexperienced, very inexperienced. So I would salivate at the chance to face Martin Jones in the first round of the playoffs. I would look. I love Gruby for what he did here. I would salivate at the chance to play Grubauer in the playoffs. Right? I would salivate at the chance of that. And look, that's a series you can win 4 or 5 games where you can get your rest for the big guys. In my opinion, Kings may give you a little bit more trouble. Winnipeg, Hellbuck can steal you some games. Fucking Martin Jones is not stealing any games for anybody. I'm sorry. At this age, at this state of his career, is not. If it was 2018, 2017, fucking Martin Jones, we could have that conversation, but we ain't there anymore, bud. So I would salivate at it.
Well, I think we're ready to move on to the NBA playoffs. Anything else that you want to touch on for hockey?
What are the other options?
It's not necessarily any other. It's going to be Seattle unless we get the 1 seed overall. Then it would be Winnipeg or Nashville. I was just curious because Seattle, I mean, they have the vibe. If they win, whatever game they happen to win in the playoffs is their first playoff win in franchise history. When they host their first game, it's their first playoff game that they've hosted at their arena in franchise history. And sometimes those can affect the team that you still might go on and stomp them, but you have to worry about, weird shit happens in the playoffs. The puck bounces off the boards different ways depending on the night that you're in the arena. That's my only. Yes, it's it's much easier of a matchup skill-wise. Like they have Andre Burakovsky, who honestly would be a third to fourth line guy on this roster with the Colorado Avalanche now, and he's a former Stanley Cup champion. That tells you all you need to know about the difference in the talent level of these rosters.
Yeah, the talent level is just, it's night and day. Like I love that Seattle got in the playoffs, that they were able to do this and still be more relevant than some Canadian teams, which is very funny, and their second year of existence. But it's weird. Look, I'll give them 1 game. I think they lose. They lose 2 here. I think maybe they win game 3 off of a high because of the first playoff game not in that city, but in that indoor game, right? Like they obviously outdoor games for the Seahawks are crazy, right? Outdoor Seahawks playoff games are crazy. Supersonics, when they were good, they were crazy. I'm sure it'll be nuts at the Crack House. Pause on that. Young listeners, don't look that up. But they don't scare me in the slightest. Not the slightest. That look, there's teams for the Nuggets that scare the snot out of me in the first round. This does not scare me at all.
Let's go ahead and transition over to basketball. NBA playoff talk is brought to you by SeatGeek. Download the SeatGeek app. Use code VSN. You get $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. So be sure to check that out. If you want to get to a playoff game, SeatGeek would be a great opportunity for you to be able to. If you live in Colorado, if you live somewhere where there's going to be playoff sports happening, check out SeatGeek. On your first purchase, you get $20 off and you use that code VSN. Help support us and help the Variety Sports Network. You said it already, so let's talk about it. Who are the teams that scare you for the Denver Nuggets, who, by the way, clinched the 1 seed in the West for the first time in franchise history. So give them their flowers.
Awesome.
They made it a lot more difficult than they needed to, but they
more
did
difficult.
it. So they deserve some credit. But who are those teams that scare you?
It was not pretty the last couple of weeks of the season, plain simple. But if you told me before the season started that the Denver Nuggets would be the number 1 seed and that they'd be fully healthy going into the playoffs, I'd be like, let's fucking go. Right? That's the thing here. Yes, the last couple of weeks fucking sucked. It was not fun to watch. We were playing bad basketball, losing by 21 points to the fucking Houston Rockets. Shit sucked. Plain simple. Shit sucked. But you fucking did it. You got the 1 seed. You got yourself in a position to the playoffs go through you. Everyone comes through you in the West. Obviously, the only team that you'd have to go on the road for would be, or teams that you have to go on the road for would be Boston and Milwaukee on the other side. Besides that, number 1 seed in the West, awesome. So the 4 teams in the play-in, obviously, as we record this, Lakers and T-Wolves are playing. If the Lakers don't fucking win this game, I'm gonna.
T-Wolves are up 2 going into halftime. It's about 2:18 left in the second quarter.
Oh my god! No, they were up by 12 too. I've been keeping tabs while we've been recording too. So, God, if we play the Lakers in the first round, I may have a fucking heart attack. I don't know how stress this is gonna cause me. But I like when it comes to these 4 teams, Minnesota doesn't scare me. Rudy Gobert punching his own teammate. You have Jaden McDaniels punching the damn wall and breaking his hand. I mean, for fuck's sake, I don't know how Minnesota is winning this game currently with those guys out. But in my opinion, Minnesota's a better team without Gobert. Plain simple. But I that idiocy from that team, they don't scare me at all. Fucking New Orleans, Zion still has no timetable to return. Does Jose Alvarado give me a little bit scared? Yeah, because he's just a little bit of a gnat. Brandon Ingram's a dog, but they're not ready for this. And obviously Oklahoma City, they're young. They're not ready. They have a lottery pick because they have 500 draft picks in the next 3 years, so they could care less. This is just icing on the cake. So the Lakers scare me the most. I stated that I think last week's episode or 2 weeks ago. If they lose this first round game and they play on Friday night and they win against one of those, either OKC or New Orleans, and fucking are the 8th seed. Oh boy, I cannot wait to show up on Sunday and a packed Ball Arena with fucking Lakers fans again. I haven't experienced a fucking LA versus Denver playoff game since 2009, and that series gave me fucking nightmares for years. Okay, that Anthony Carter passing the ball in, Kobe knocking shot after shot against Melo, playing LA in the playoffs. Like I said, if you're going to get the monkey out of the back, let's just fucking rip it off. If you're going to rip it off, right? You're going to probably have to play the Suns in the second round. So if you want to get to where you want to be, you're going to have to probably face the Lakers, probably have to face the Suns, and then we'll see what happens with the rest. So if you told me, look, this team looked unbeatable a couple months ago. Unbeatable. And right now, the last couple of weeks have been shit. Absolute shit. So, look, knock on wood that all this bad losing is out of their mouth now. But, man, God, it looks like we're going to face the Lakers, and I don't want to deal with it, Jimmy. I don't want to deal with getting in a fight every fucking home game in the playoffs because there's going to be some idiot Lakers fans that are going to piss me off. I just know there will be. And I will not hold any bars back to Lakers fans.
I actually that is, the Lakers being there, you got to slay the dragon to be able to get where you want to get to. I want to change gears slightly because I saw the report. Dallas is being investigated for tanking. One, I don't know how that was their strategy. I don't know why you bring in Kyrie Irving. I thought Mark Cuban was smarter than this. Is anything going to happen? Like, is the NBA really going to find that the team? No. What is the NBA going to do if they find that they were tanking? Because are they actually going to
look? They were playing. I forgot who they were playing. I think it was maybe San Antonio or it was one of those Texas teams too. And the Mavericks had a chance to still be in the play-in, right? The fucking OKC Thunder in the play-in, okay? And the Dallas Mavericks with 2 perennial all-stars starters. By the way, 2 starters Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, 2 stars, by the way, that aren't in the fucking playoffs. Thank you very much. Thank you, All-Star team, for not voting any of our guys in. Still salty about that. But I look, not playing Luka after the first, in all my opinion, it's Dallas shooting themselves in the foot, right? You're being dumb yourself. You're showing Luka we don't give a fuck, right? That's the worst thing in the scenario. Luka denied the rumors that he's going to request a trade and all that, but there's no denying that straight up, if there's one team he'd want to come play for, it'd probably be the Denver Nuggets. Like I can talk shit on my ass all I want, but my God, there's one guy that he'd probably love playing with, and be Nikola Jokic. I'm sorry, but Jokic ain't fucking leaving. Okay, he is just fine living in that penthouse suite in Denver and going back to Serbia during All-Star, or not All-Star because he plays an All-Star game, but during the summer. He is just fine doing that. He is not going anywhere else. He'd rather fucking just play in Serbia. And Luka seeing that and being like, why the fuck did you not stop playing me? This is a play-in tournament. We can still make the playoffs. We can still make some noise. And a team that was in the Western Conference Finals last year that punked the Suns in the playoffs, right? In that 7-game series or 7-game series where they just rolled them in Game 7, and now not even in the play-in. It's a colossal failure. Colossal failure.
They have nobody to blame but themselves. I mean, they've built up so much bad karma. The other night that they. Well, yeah, and that he needs to burn a sage, like I said last week. But did you see that report that came out? They had Slovenian night, and Luka played a total of like 10 minutes. They had all these people come in, be like, "Oh yes, they're celebrating our culture. It's Serbia night or Slovenia night. Excuse me, Slovenia night." I'm gonna get shot if I ever go to the Eastern Bloc, is what I'm realizing. And I teach geography. This is fucking embarrassing. They had Slovenian night, and the Slovenian only played 10 minutes. Marketing wise, it makes sense.
Mark Cuban was losing his fucking mind. I think he's mad more than anything. I think Luka's mad.
Get the right fucking coach, and you're the owner. You own everything. You pay. You literally sign the checks.
I think Jason Kidd is a halfway decent coach. I don't think he's a bad coach by any means. I think he's a great basketball mind. But my God, the fucking talent you've put around Luka. Look, we talk about the talent around Jokic. Jokic is an all-world player. That's why he's made the talent around him. But he's never played with an all-star. Luka, they traded for Kristaps. Porzingis fucking didn't work out. You traded for Spencer Dinwiddie, and you got to Spencer Dinwiddie Company in Washington, and you got to the Western Conference Finals. And then you said, "Fuck it, let's just try to jump ship again and not try to go through the process and just deal with it and be and go get Kyrie Irving a locker room cancer to everywhere he's been." And you think that's going to work? If the Denver Nuggets, if the Golden State Warriors, if the Milwaukee Bucks have shown you anything over the last couple of years, it's that all 4 of these teams were at one of the worst teams in the league. Like they were very, very bad. Before the Warriors dynasty and in between the Warriors dynasty and the We Believe team was terrible. Team was no fun to watch. Monte Ellis was their fucking starting point guard. Team was no fun to watch. Milwaukee. Fucking Michael Redd. I'm naming names off the gym he's never heard of before, right? Like these are all teams that built, not bought. They're waiting until they're there. And Dallas said, "Oh, hot name, Luka," right? There's only one basketball. There's only one basketball. We said that with the Miami team, right? There's only one basketball. They figured it out. Said that with the Golden State Warriors team with KD. They figured it out. You don't have the championship pedigree those teams have, not even close. So Dallas could be in trouble. That's all I'm going to say. Dallas could be in trouble. And look, I would not hesitate to trade for Luka Doncic. Anyone's on the table. Anyone. And anyone outside 1.5. Anyone. I would be willing to give up anyone. And then that's enough said on that subject.
All right. I think it's time to switch over to the Eastern Conference. We know Milwaukee, 1 seed, number 1 overall seed in the entire NBA. Boston, Philly, Cleveland, New York, Brooklyn, the play-in setup. Miami just lost to Atlanta tonight. So the Hawks, like you were telling me before we started recording, Trae Young was possibly going to be on the trading block, yet they won the play-in game. So they're going to be
11,
they play. If you win tonight, you're in the playoffs, right?
Yeah. So Atlanta's in. They're the 7th seed. They're facing Boston, which is no easy task by any means. And Miami now gets to host another home game against the winner of I believe it's Chicago and Toronto.
Chicago and Toronto.
So I mean, it's Miami. Miami might be in trouble. Miami might be in trouble. That's all I'm going to say, because the Heat culture is slowly fading away. And with Udonis Haslem's last game, he was your second leading scorer in a game that you needed to win to try to get out of the play-in. It's not looking good.
Who do you realistically see coming out? Like, who would you be willing to use BetUS and say is going to win this Eastern Conference and play whoever wins the Western Conference in the finals?
I still think it's Milwaukee. I think Boston is a hell of a team, but I would be lying to you if I didn't think Milwaukee can run the table again. This team's fully healthy. Their depth is better than what it was last year. Much, much better than it was last year. They faced Miami in the first round, a team that they swept last year, or not swept last year. They played last year and played really well against, or 2 years ago they swept. Sorry. I think they can run through them. Boston against Atlanta. I think Boston can win that series in 4. Seriously, 4 or 5. I don't think Atlanta can sniff a jock to Boston. In terms of Philly, look, I have my thoughts about Philly. But Brooklyn's has nobody to beat them, plain and simple. Philly's biggest test will be in the second round against Boston. Those two are on a collision course to face one another again in the playoffs for, I think it's the second or third straight year. Cleveland is the little bit of the unknown here, because I like Cleveland's team, but I still think that the Bucks can roll through them. So I would hard pressed to pick anyone outside the Bucks. I don't love Boston, but I do think that Boston has what it takes. But there's a lot of chatter and outside that locker room going around. There's chatter about Dame. There's chatter about Bradley Beal. There's chatter about trading Jaylen Brown. This is a team that's number 2 in the West that at one point had the best record number 2 in the East, and had the one point best record in basketball, and then they fell to the second best record to the Bucks. There's a lot of chatter going around in Boston that I like outside noise for that team. So I'm gonna go Bucks, because I think the Bucks are the most fair team out of these.
I would like to see Cleveland have success without LeBron, but I think it's just a year too early. I don't know if they're ready to win a playoff series. Next year, if you move yourself to 3 or 2, yeah, I can see you maybe making a mini run and seeing where it goes from there. It's tough. Like, when you have the series sports, it comes down to talent. If it's one game playoff, you have the chance for all this chaos. You can still have chaos. You can still have teams that get hot. Like, Dallas really did surprise me last year. I didn't think that they were going to do anything, win any playoff series, and they ended up all the way in the Western Conference Finals. So it does happen.
Me too. I have them losing to the Clippers, right? I have them losing to the Clippers, and then first round, and then they come out, beat the Clippers, beat the Suns, obviously, and then lose to Golden State. That was a murderer's row of teams, and they completely disbanded that team completely.
They have fallen apart down the stretch. Anything else before we send the people off on this?
I gave my winners for the East. Let me give my winners for the West. I think the Nuggets would go to 6 games with the Lakers. I think that they'd beat Minnesota in 5. They'd beat Oklahoma City in 5, and I think they'd beat New Orleans in 6. I think that's how I think it would go. I don't think we sweep any of those teams. This team's not ready for that. Memphis, they played the Lakers. I would be hard-pressed to give the Lakers the nod here. I think I might give the Lakers a slight nod because of that backstory between Dylan Brooks and Shannon Sharp. That'd be just comedical hour. If they play Minnesota, I think they win at 4 and 5. Minnesota is so mentally weak. It'd be chop liver for the Grizzlies. Golden State and Sacramento, that's a series that's – oh boy, it's the defending champs against at the time the longest drought in the 4 major sports history of playoff drought being broken, and Sacramento's going to be buzzing. And Golden State is a terrible road team, and I mean terrible road team. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that the Warriors wanted the Kings in the first round. Everyone did. The Clippers did. The Kings did. They all wanted the Clippers did. The Warriors did. They all wanted the Kings in the first round. They got it. I think Golden State wins this series. I would love to see Sacramento pull off an upset, which is weird to say for a 3-6 matchup. But I'm going to have Golden State here winning because it's defending champs. I think it's just going to make it more difficult. And then the last one, Suns and Clippers. Clippers don't have PG. Suns in 4 or 5. Nope. Scratch what I just said. I will never say the S and F and the number, this number that I'm holding up to the screen. I'm never saying that again until we beat them. But I think that they could win in that number 1, 2, 3, and the number after 3, or they could win in 5. I think that they can roll through this Clippers team. Kawhi is going to be the piece, and you're telling me Westbrook at this point in his career is going to have to be the number 2 guy. Yeah, no, I don't trust it at all. So give me the Suns.
The Suns are scary with that addition of Kevin Durant. You got to bank on the fact that Chris Paul chokes in the big moments if you're preying on the Suns' downfall. I know you have a few friends. I have a few friends that are all Suns fans.
There's a good chance
Arizona.
There's a good chance if we play the Suns in the second round, I'll be in Phoenix too for a game. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. So.
There we go.
We're going to get the Nugs in 4. That's all I'm going to say. I would love nothing more than to fucking pay it right back.
Not only are we going to get playoff action from Ballerino, we might get road playoff action from Niko. So I think that's
being on the road in the fucking playoffs is like no other. I did that for Chris in Miami when they played in San Antonio. We got yelled at the whole fucking game. I did it when Chris played here in Denver against Dallas, and we went to Dallas's arena, and fucking old grown ass men were yelling at me that I didn't know how to spell Chris's last name right on the back of my jersey. Road playoff games are exciting, except when your team gets their ass kicked. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'm knocking on wood for you. I think it's going to be a good trip. We're ready for a lot of great playoff action. It's not going to be like it was 2 years ago where the Nugs and Avalanche were out of the playoffs in 8 straight games.
12 straight, 8 or whatever it was.
I'm not losing 8 straight again. If we lose 8 straight, I will riot. I will boycott. I don't know what I'm going to do. We may
need a two-month break is all I'm going to say for the summer. We may need some cooling off is all I'm going to say. I don't think
we'll have to start a new season if that happens. But I think it's a good spot to leave. Episode 133, we will be watching all of the action. Playoff basketball will be starting here on the weekend. Playoff hockey will start next week. So we'll have another episode coming at you then. But for now, be sure to follow us at FEOTB Pod, and be sure to follow our network at Variety_Sports_. One more time before we leave, want to mention the great sponsors that we have through Variety Sports Network. Obviously, the ones that we mentioned, SeatGeek, download the app, code VSN, you get $20 off your first purchase. Download the BetUS app or go to betus.com. Use code VSN, and you'll get some free wagers to start your betting career off with. And we'll mention the other ones here as well, just to wrap up the show. Row One Brand, code VSP15. Get 15% off anything in the art gallery. And AAA's Treats, use code VSN, 10% off the order. And finally, University Traditions, which is a new one that's through our VSN college affiliation. You get any mug or any kind of they make bat mugs. You've seen the bat mugs,
mugs,
yeah. They make bat mugs in whatever college color sequence that you need. So go University Traditions, code VSN15. You get 15% off a discount on your order.
Did our winner claim his prize?
Winner has not claimed prize yet. We are still
give him one more
searching.
Chance. Give him one more chance.
We are still searching.
If you're
so again,
or on Twitter, give one more chance, and we'll see. If not,
that winner is Cheap Seats Adam A. Creason or AC Reason 89. A Creason or AC Reason 89. If you see this on Twitter, if you hear this through the podcast, reach out via DM, and we'll make sure that we get you your shirt and gift card for winning the 2023 March Madness Challenge. That's, I think, all of the business notes that we had. We had a lot more this time. Niko, we are ready to have another week. We don't have any major events happening. This is kind of like our lull in between, but things are very much picking up.
We are. It's like it's the night before Christmas. It's the night before. It's the week before NBA playoffs. Obviously, Nuggets play Sunday, even though it's this week. Yeah, I get it, but it's a long ways away. And as obviously playoffs next week, so it's the week before Christmas. Plain and simple. Like that's the best way to put it. We're just itching for it. Like this is only an hour and 15-minute episode. We're itching for it. We're itching to talk about the Nuggets and the Lakers. We're itching to versus each other. We're itching to talk about Seattle and the Avs the first round. We need it. So we're almost there. I need it in my life.
And you guys need us in your lives as well. So we appreciate everybody reaching out. Be sure to continue to follow, like, rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend about us. We'll be back again next Thursday with another episode. But from myself, Jimmy Pilato, my co-host Niko Bryant, this has been episode 133 of The Far End of the Bench. Thank you very much for listening. We will see you guys next week.
Peace.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.